In this lesson, we're going to look at how we can make the tabs. Currently, we don't see the tabs, but we're going to have them become active when the page loads. So the way that we're going to do this is by adding a ready class to the group of tabs when the page is actually loaded. So here's the div called tab group. Remember, that wraps around all of the content that we want to be part of the tabs. And what we're going to do is we're going to dynamically add a ready class to this section of the page. So we'll start off by creating some JavaScript. I have my empty script tags waiting for me to enter some script. We'll start off by using our use strict syntax. And remember, we talked about this before, but use strict just declares your document to work in strict mode, and it allows you to make it easier to write secure JavaScript and helps you to catch some syntax errors a little bit more easily. So we'll use that to help us as we write our script. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add an event to our page. The event that we're going to use is going to be an event that doesn't involve messing with the HTML. So we're going to go ahead and create an event listener to the document. So I'll start off by doing document.add event listener like so. And when we use this add event listener method, then we have to specify the event that we're listening for. So the event that we're going to be listening for is called DOM content loaded. So we'll go ahead and create parentheses, and then inside of quotes I'm going to pass on DOM content loaded. This is the event that fires when the page is actually loaded, but before any external resources have been loaded. So that's going to include images and CSS and everything like that. We're listening for this event, but we need to actually do something when it happens. So in this case, we can use a named function. We could go ahead and write something like this, where I would specify the name of my function, and then I would actually have to come down and call my function. So I would create a function, and I would use the activate tabs name, and then I would begin building the function just like we've done in the past. What we're going to do in this exercise, though, is we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of using the named function, we're going to actually be creating an anonymous function. So I'm going to get rid of that line of code right there. An anonymous function is simply a function that has no name. And because JavaScript treats functions just like any other kind of value, you can just drop one in where you would otherwise have a named function. So now you don't have to have everything in a separate line. You can define everything just in one big block. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and after the comma, instead of adding the named function, we're just going to simply write function, and then we'll open and close the parentheses, and we'll open our curly braces, and then I'm going to create my closing curly braces. I have my parenthesis and my semicolon already there. Anonymous functions are really a useful feature in JavaScript. You'll see them quite oftenly used. So now what we have is we have an event listener, and it's going to fire when the page loads. And here's our anonymous function, which we can actually start doing some stuff. So just to test this, I'm going to go ahead and add a line of code that will just print something to the console. If we save our page and go into the browser, and I'll open up my developer tools, and we'll go to console. When I refresh the page, you can see that my message that we printed to the console is now displaying. So it's just letting me know that things have loaded. So what we know now is that this event is firing when the page loads. Now what we're going to do is we're going to change this so that it does something a little bit more meaningful. And what we want to have happen on our page is we want to add the class of ready to the tab group. So we already have styles in the CSS file that are going to style the page so that it looks like the tabular content. So now we're just going to go ahead and add this to the tab group. We're going to do that by using our document.getElementById, and then we're going to go ahead and get the tab group, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to put the class name property, and we're going to go ahead and make that equal to ready. So if we save our page now and we go back into the browser and refresh our page, you can see that visually my page has changed. The tabs don't work currently, but it is loading up my CSS. And if we actually inspect these elements that are on our page, you can see that I have the class of ready that's being added on to the tab group. Before we had our JavaScript, that was not added onto the page, but now that we have that line of JavaScript, it's actually adding this class name of ready to our page. So we're going to have to add some other interactivity to make this more meaningful, but using this method we can make sure that the CSS only works when all the other JavaScript activity is actually functioning, and in this way we can progressively enhance our page. So if someone did not have JavaScript available on their page, they would just see the page as it appeared prior to us adding this class of ready to the tab group.